Warning: the video you're about to watch contains details of abuse. Viewer discretion is advised.
Police say 20-year-old Boitumelo McCallum was last seen alive at a party at her mother's apartment here at 4 Washington Square Village. Her body, badly decomposed, was discovered Monday. Police say they're searching for McCallum's boyfriend, 23-year-old Michael Cordero. They say his last known address is 90 Amsterdam Avenue. They won't call him a suspect, but they say they'd like to speak to him.
What happens when you're young and in love, but the relationship that you're in might not be the best for you? It can be kind of hard to pick up on those red flags as they pop up. Now, we're all familiar with the ups and downs that come with being in committed relationships, but rarely do we ever think to ourselves that those rough patches might sometimes lead to our own death. Unfortunately for 20-year-old Boitumelo McCallum, known for her loving, vibrant personality, that's exactly what happened. Today on Evil Intentions, the murder of Boitumelo McCallum. Boitumelo McCallum was born on July 25, 1987 in Soweto, a township of the city of Johannesburg. She was born to two NYU professors, Teboho Moja and Robert McCallum. She had one sibling, Lebo, who she was really close to and had a great relationship with. They even looked so much alike that people would often confuse them with being twins. The two would form an unbreakable bond and they confided in one another. Tumi, as friends and family would call her, and her brother Lebo, experienced living under a police state as children, born and being raised in South Africa during the end of the apartheid era. Tumi's mother was being pursued by authorities for her anti-apartheid activism. Working deep within South Africa's higher education system, she was even appointed executive director by Nelson Mandela. Sometime later, the family would decide that they wanted to start new, setting their sights on New York City in 1999. Now, this is when Tumi and her family started to call New York City their new home. Living just a few blocks from Washington Square Park, surrounded by the energy of the big city, Tumi really didn't have any trouble finding inspiration. Her experiences were beginning to feed her artistic personality. Tumi was always known for being an accomplished student and artist, but it was said by her mother that when she came to New York City was when she really came into her own. She was a top student at Greenwich Village Middle School, and as a teen, Tumi attended the selective college prep school Beacon in the Hell's Kitchen section of Manhattan. She was often described as someone who was outgoing and genuinely happy, who excelled at dance and writing. She quickly became adapted to the New York City lifestyle, taking in all those new experiences that she was being exposed to. But Tumi would soon suffer a blow that would affect her and the entire family, when her parents would divorce. And this sent her into what some would describe as a downward spiral. But eventually, coming out of a dark place with the support of loved ones around her, Tumi was finally back to her radiant, outgoing ways, continuing to make friends and make plans for her future. Now, this is when Tumi would cross paths with someone who would change everything. Michael Cordero and Tumi came from two separate worlds. Michael grew up in the Amsterdam houses behind Lincoln Center on Manhattan's Upper West Side. Cordero grew up mostly poor and struggled through school. He attended Westside Academy Junior High School on Upper West Side's 96th Street, where he would spend his time hanging out with friends and debating video games with his classmates. People close to Michael as kids said that Michael was a very active kid, known for being the fastest at tag and being somewhat of a class clown. He was a smart kid, always lively. He snuck his ferret into school once, and when the teachers found out, they made him take it out and pass it around so that the whole class could pet it, mentioned an ex-classmate of Cordero's. Now, things continued to be a challenge for Cordero well into high school, where he began to build a small rap sheet for petty crimes. It was through mutual friends who attended Beacon that he and Tumi would meet. They were friends for 3 years before ever becoming romantically involved. Now, Tumi would graduate and leave to attend Mills College in Oakland, California. Cordero would join McCallum some time later in California, and then he followed her back to New York City in 2007. It was believed that at the time he was obtaining his GED. Cordero's sister had a boyfriend who mentioned Cordero was just trying to clean up his life and do the right thing. But friends close to Tumi had a very different and much clearer perspective of what was really going on. Now, this is when friends close to Tumi spoke to authorities and mentioned that they recalled many occasions where Tumi would meet with them and have bruises on her arms and hands, as if she'd been beaten not too long before. The friends also witnessed the increasingly toxic phone conversations that would be had if Cordero so much as heard a man's voice on the other end of that phone. Her friends feared his temper, often voicing their concern for Tumi's safety if one day things went too far. Michael had become extremely possessive and obsessive as time went on, and things only became much worse. She really protected him from us because we were all so concerned, said Elise Woodard, 19, a fellow classmate of McCallum's at Mills College in Oakland, California. She loved so hard that she didn't ever want anything to be wrong with anyone. He didn't want her to be her. He wanted her to be his. As mental and physical abuse at the hands of Cordero became an all too frequent occurrence, her friends growing more concerned by the day, Tumi found herself even deeper. Despite the abuse, she remained in contact with him while he was locked away at drug rehab, keeping contact through letters. In one letter, Cordero would ask, "Do you see me in your future, or am I just another guy?" Tumi would respond, "You can answer this one for yourself. But just in case there's any confusion, you mean a lot to me. I have lost sleep before worrying about you." In the summer of 2007, Tumi would spend her time teaching kids art and staying at her mother's campus apartment in Greenwich Village. Friends of Tumi's often pleaded with her to stay away from Cordero, since their relationship had become this on-again, off-again thing between the two. Loved ones wanted her as far away from him as possible. Both of Tumi's parents and pretty much anyone around her knew of Cordero and how dangerous he could be. So she began to pull away, putting distance between herself and Cordero, spending more time with friends, making plans to return to Mills College in the fall. On August 1st, Tumi threw a party to celebrate her father's engagement or belated birthday, depending on which source you check. She invited all of her friends, but no Cordero. A step in the right direction, friends thought. But Cordero would find out about the party, and he decided he wanted to go confront Tumi on why she didn't want him there. According to Cordero, the two would lie and watch a movie. Tumi noticed how Michael was quiet and seemed to be upset, so she asked him what was wrong. He wouldn't answer, so she continued to ask. And this was when Cordero just snapped. Authorities would not immediately release details about Tumi's death, but those details would only make the fresh wound much deeper. The medical examiner would rule Tumi's death manual strangulation and smothering, and Cordero would describe how he murdered her during questioning, explaining how he had choked Miss McCallum by placing his hands around her neck until she stopped moving and blood flowed from her nose. Cordero began to savagely strike Tumi in a jealous rage. He began to strangle Tumi as he beat her. She was still alive, so then he wrapped a towel around her face and he continued the strangulation. Tumi suffered visible damage to her face and was beaten even after she was no longer breathing, causing a broken nose. Her body was wrapped in a sheet and she was tucked between the wall and her bed. Cordero even left her TV on so that anyone who might have been home would assume that she was in her bedroom alive and well. He locked her bedroom door from the inside so she wouldn't be found so easily. But before leaving, he unwrapped her body just enough to expose her hand. In her hand, he would place 2 dog tags that she had given him for his birthday, their names inscribed on both of them. He wrapped her up again and he made his way out, but not before he stole her knapsack, camera, laptop, and cell phone, a detective mentioned. It was believed all of Tumi's art, writings, and anything that meant anything to her was on those devices. A pair renting a room in the apartment belonging to Tumi's mom reported a foul smell emanating from the bedroom and alerted the super. The same pair also reported seeing Cordero wash his hands in the bathroom after locking Tumi's door. The super became almost instantly suspicious and called authorities, who would show up later, accessing the fire escape for easier entry. Tumi's body was found. It had been 3 days, and she had been left to badly decompose in the sweltering New York City heat, leaving the beautiful young and vibrant woman unrecognizable. As the news of Tumi's death quickly spread, friends close to her knew exactly who the cops needed to go see. On the evening of August 7th at around 8:40 p.m., a call was made to NYPD about a man bleeding and being chased by people in the street in Manhattan's Upper West Side. The man ran into a nearby Western beef supermarket where he was arrested and treated for self-inflicted wounds to his wrists. That man was Michael Cordero. Michael had been chased from the rooftop of his sister's 62nd Street apartment building into the street, where a passerby dialed 911, fearing that a man was being threatened. The hospital workers who treated Cordero told authorities that Cordero confessed to the murder, stating, "I tried to kill myself because I killed my girlfriend." An ex-boyfriend of Tumi's, a man by the name of Paul Rocco, would tell authorities that he did spend the night with Tumi the night of her party, but the two never slept together. "I feel a little responsible for his rage," Rocco wrote in an email to the Sunday Times of South Africa. "I didn't have any sex with her, but we shared the same bed and cuddled," he wrote. "She was not seeing him anymore, and I'm single, so it felt like old times. He never knew me, but he knew of me. Tumi told me 2 weeks ago when we hung out that he wrote a poem about hating me and wanting me dead because I was the ex that never hit her or anything. I don't know why she let him in, after I told her the night before that he was stalking her." Cordero would take Tumi's life just a few hours later. When detectives searched Cordero's belongings, they would find his name on pages of violent rap lyrics such as, "I'm going to kill you, I'm going to stomp you, and I'm going to shoot you," sources said. People who knew Cordero personally said that his life fell apart emotionally after the death of his father about 2 years prior. Boitumelo's death would send shockwaves through NYU campus and the lives of those who knew her. The family and friends of McCallum find themselves adjusting to life without her, all while hoping to get some justice for their beloved Tumi. On April 29th of 2010, Michael Cordero was sentenced to 25 years in prison for the murder of Boitumelo McCallum. An emotional sentencing, to say the least, especially for a family who was still very much grieving. "You smashed her beautiful face. You barehandedly killed my child. Your hands are stained forever with her blood," Tumi's mother told Cordero. "Tumi was scared of you. I tried as much as I could to protect her, but you did everything behind my back and that of our family to get to her one final time," said Robert McCallum. "Up until the last few days of her life, I asked if she had been in contact with you, knowing that you were extremely dangerous. She failed to tell me that she was going to see you again." Michael Cordero remains in prison with a possibility of release as early as 2027 and latest being 2032. Several profiles for pen pal websites indicate that Cordero has spent his time behind bars earning an education and mentoring at-risk youth, recently earning an associate's degree in liberal arts. Now, while I could commend somebody for using their time in prison wisely, nothing can change the fact that a thriving young woman suffered a terrible fate, and all because she wanted to move on. Just wanted to thank you guys for stopping by the channel and watching today's video. If you feel like today's content is the type of content you want to keep up with, please feel free to like and subscribe, because I'll be uploading these types of videos on a weekly basis, following cases all around the country. Now I pass the question off to you guys. What do you think? Do you think this is fair? Should somebody be able to commit such a heinous crime, but strike a deal and come out in such a short amount of time? Do you think that somebody should have to spend the rest of their life in prison for a crime like this? Feel free to sound off in the comments below. Let's just always keep it respectful Remember, these are real crimes tied to real families who are still mourning. Now, friends, always remember, keep a tight circle, mind your surroundings, because you never know who around you might have evil intentions. I'm out.